This story is about Robert H. Richards IV. He does not currently work because he lives off of an enormous trust fund that he received from his great-grandfather, passed down from his great-grandfather, and he currently lives in his 5,800 square foot mansion he bought for $1.8 million. Now, in 2005, Richards started sexually abusing his 3-year-old daughter, which ended 2 years later when the girl told her grandmother that she didn't, quote, want my daddy touching me anymore. When his ex-wife confronted him about the abuse, he actually admitted to the abuse, but said that it was, quote, an accident, even though he told the girl never to tell anyone because it was his little secret. But he swore that it would never happen again. Though originally charged with 2 counts of second-degree rape of a child, which each sentence would carry a minimum 10-year mandatory prison sentence, days before his trial, Richards was offered a plea deal by the prosecutor for 4th-degree rape, which carries no minimum jail time. The prosecution recommended probation instead rather than jail time, and Judge Jan Jordan actually agreed, saying that Richards, quote, will not fare well in prison, so she suspended his 8-year prison sentence and gave him probation. So, open it up. What do you guys think?
All right, I want to be the legal downer on this case because usually, like, we don't know all the specifics. We know it's reported in the media. We know that this guy probably, definitely, 100%, actually not probably, 100% did the crime that he was committed. But we don't know if they would have went to trial, would he have been convicted, even though he confessed to his wife, which would be hearsay. He would have to confess in court. So we don't know why they offered him the deal, but it really seems like it's a comical deal that none of us would have gotten if we were in a similar situation, and that's why the story looks bad. So, like, now that I've said that we don't know 100% of all the evidence that the prosecution had to work with, let's start ripping apart the prosecution. This guy admitted, and I don't want to be too graphic, but he admitted to something horrible, and you guys can look up the details or somebody else can mention it, and he probably would have been convicted, but they went all the way from 2nd-degree rape of a child down to 4th degree, and he ended up with probation. And then the judge, after reviewing the evidence, gave him probation. Like, you can't give him a year. You can't give him 2 years in jail. Like, it just seems like the quotes make this the worst, that he won't fare well in jail. Like, oh, well, you know, this guy could get hurt. Send kids to jail for way less crimes for way longer, and those kids do get hurt. Like, it just seems like totally wrong, and it seems wrong that he got such a low bail, which wasn't brought up. It was $60,000. For somebody who is extremely wealthy, that's nothing. So it's a disgusting case, but we don't technically know all the information.
All right, so yeah, I think this is the most outrageous story I think that I've heard in a long time. This isn't like faux liberal outrage, okay? This is beyond the pale. It's disgusting and disturbing. And you know who doesn't fare well in prison? People in prison. Why? Because it's fucking prison, all right? You know who fares the worst in prison? Child rapists, and for damn good reason. Now you tell me what makes this guy different than any other child rapist we have thrown in prison. It's the money. It's the fucking money. No other story highlights in such great detail the two-tier justice system that we have in America. One set of laws for you, the guy with money, and a completely set of laws and rules for everybody else. This judge and the other Affluenza judge, they should not be judges.
Like, for me, okay, possibly stop me if you think I'm going too far, but kind of the whole case, or the reason why he didn't go to jail was because the judge said he wouldn't fare well in jail, which means I would be a bit traumatized and stuff. I would really like to hope that for the rest of his life, now I don't wish physical harm on anyone, I'm not a violent person, but I hope he is haunted in his dreams and for every waking moment that he's out and about freely after molesting his own child. I really hope he has some, like, just kind of traumatic kind of experience where he's just not able to kind of not able to live with himself, but is just kind of so worried for his own sake for the rest of his life, because, or at least for the next 8 years at a minimum. That's the least he deserves. I mean, 8 years for touching a kid, in my opinion, is still way too low anyway. And there are forms of rehabilitation that you'd have to, not necessarily prison, but some other kind of like open prison rehabilitation thing. That would have at least been something. And to Sean's point as well, with the bail being set so low at $60,000, in a lot of countries, particularly like Scandinavian countries, when you receive a speeding ticket, the fine that you pay is in relation to your income and the wage that you receive. And it just amazes, and I think for a lot of crimes as well, where you have to pay a fine in those countries, it's in relation to how much you earn. The fact that this guy has, what is it, like 1.8 million or whatever in trust funds, $60,000 is nothing to him. It's just pocket money to him. It's, full liberal outrage. It's disgusting, and I hope this guy is not able to have an easy night's sleep for the rest of his life.
And Stephen, I just want to address your point of rehabilitation. The prison system here in America, it's not about rehabilitation. We've gone away from that, okay? We stopped doing that a long time ago. Now it's about segregating dangerous predators away from the general public. Dangerous predators like this guy.
Yeah.
This is one guy you want thrown in jail and to throw away the key.
Right. And I don't know if I didn't come off strong enough against this guy, because the reason that this case is so bad is because this particular crime, these guys do it over and over again. It's not like it's a one-time thing. Typically, they have the highest recidivism rates of maybe any criminal. I'm not exactly sure, but it's definitely up there. And that part is scary, that he's probably gonna do this to another kid someday. But the other thing about the bail, and I don't agree with Steven's weird, you pay what your income is for a speeding ticket and all that. I think that should be the severity of your speeding. But for bail,
I'm not saying that's a good thing, but I'm just saying at least other countries have, it seems to be a slightly better system. I don't necessarily agree with it, but in this case it would have certainly worked.
But for bail, I totally agree, because the purpose of bail is to make sure you put down enough money that you're not going to run away from your court case. And to make it even more disgusting, we say $60,000 in bail. If he didn't want to pay that, he could have went to a bail bondsman and put down 10%, and they would have covered his bail. So he would have only been in for $60,000 to the court. So it gets a lot worse when you think about it like that. And it's just a terrible case. And considering that I had a friend who was charged with a serious crime and was found to be misidentified when it went to trial 5 years later, but he couldn't pay his bail, it seems pretty shitty that this guy fucking gets out of jail like that instantly on bail.
Actually, since you shared that anecdote, I'll share one of mine. I'm not going to name any names, but I do know someone who is a much older gentleman. He is very disabled. He's on heart medication. He's a diabetic. He's extremely overweight. And he's been accused, he denies it, but he's been accused of molesting a young 6-year-old girl. Very similar to this case. But he was given a bail that was completely out of his league. He can't post it at all. And he's still sitting in jail at this very moment. In fact, I don't even know if he's still alive. Now, if anyone isn't going to fare well in jail, it's an overweight, disabled man in his 50s who's been accused of child molestation, but even though he hasn't had any real evidence presented against him, he's still being held in jail, and actually was recently transferred to the prison system. Now, he's not given this leeway or this benefit of the doubt, even though the guy we're talking about in this story confessed.
I mean, that's the incredible thing, that kind of in your anecdote, the guy, he's on heart medication, he's disabled, he's an older guy sort of thing, he's got a whole ton of problems. And, and apparently he's going to fare better in prison than this other guy. And the thing is, I can understand why the judge said, oh, this guy's not going to fare well in prison. It's because most paedophiles in prison don't fare well. You watch any American prison documentary, kind of the paedophiles and kind of child molesters and rapists, the other prisoners, they will torment those people. These child molesters, they are the lowest of the low in the prison kind of hierarchy. So I can understand why she's saying he's not going to fare well, but too bloody right he shouldn't fare well. I just can't believe he hasn't served any jail time whatsoever.
Right, and I just want to point out the thing about the case. Like, if the prosecutor came out and said this was the best deal that they could get because it's a 3-year-old that's going to testify against him and all those factors, like, I would understand that. But the judge's quote makes it bad, and the fact that it doesn't feel like it's the best deal that they could get. Like, they went from 2 counts of second-degree rape of a child to, I think it was 1 count of 4th degree. Like, it doesn't feel like the best that they could do. I'm actually more outraged about the bail in the first place than this, because, like, if you set the bail higher, then that might put more pressure on him to cop a worse plea deal, so he could just get out of jail faster. And it just doesn't feel like they tried, right? If they came out and said this is what happened, we tried but we failed, then I could understand. But it just really doesn't feel like they tried.
Right. I would think they would be actually able to get rather good testimony from the girl because, yeah, she was 3 years old when the abuse started, but it went on for 2 years. That means she was 5 before it stopped.
This is, once again, another good example of the fact that our justice system is really kind of fucked up, right? Because, like I had mentioned before, any other guy, any other person, and your anecdotal example is a pretty good, example of that, where, this guy is accused, sits in jail, doesn't have the money, but this other guy has the money. And so he gets he doesn't even go to jail. He gets a much lesser sentence. He gets probation. This is just an absolute failure of the justice system. Way to go. You had one fucking job and you failed it. Completely and utterly. There is no justice here.
I can understand why this wasn't necessarily kind of an absolute slam dunk case, and the prosecutors should have done more of a job. And I know kind of the defendant's job, and no doubt, because he's a rich man, he's hired his own defense team and stuff, and they've got to do their job to protect him. But morally, I mean, this is why I chose not to go into law in the end, because I couldn't defend this guy. Surely the defender, you must be thinking, I don't know, maybe I'll have a backroom deal with the prosecutor and say, okay, we'll agree to at least give him, I can't go all in your favour, prosecutors, but let's agree on 4 years sort of thing. I know he could probably get less if we tried, but we'll just settle for 4 years because I hate this guy because he fucking touches kids.
That's how you get disbarred, Stephen.
Yeah, I know, and that's why I'm not a lawyer, and that's why I could probably never do it these days. But so messed up, it's incredible.
And I get the point. It's just it doesn't feel like we got the fair deal. And in general, just put it out there. I'm in favor of lower bail, and for people who are at risk, maybe put an ankle bracelet on them. Because I still believe in this crazy concept of innocent until proven guilty. But this is not the case to start that trend. This is not the example I would choose.